great speaker. Is the chairwoman of Gunawera. Very blessed to have her on board with us and blessed to have her here with us today. So I'll hand you over to Miriam Cavanagh.
Thank you, Graham. Oh, that's good. Hello.
Sorry.
Hang on, we're just passing. Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Miriam Cavanagh. I'm the chairwoman of Gunawera. I've been appointed chairwoman now of Gunawera. So this is a big first, and hopefully more to come, and more faces as well. I also like to pay my acknowledgement to the country that we're on as well. And I'd like to pay respects to my ancestors I'm of both Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander background. My mum is from the Torres Strait Islands, which is the top of Australia, and I'm from what they call the Miriam people, which is a central persons across the middle. There's about, say, 36 commercial islands that are up there, and I'm from the middle part. So have you heard of Murray Island, or the native title claims? That's where I'm close to that. That's where on my mum's side, that's where I come from. On my dad's side, I was born here out of customary, because me being the eldest child, in island custom, you give them back to your grandparents, to the Torres Strait, to get your raise. So that's how I become a Redfern girl. So I was born here in Redfern, and on my dad's side, he's from Redfern area up to Singleton, up to up to Mount St Clair, come back around. So I say my dad is in New South Wales, and my mum is the rest of Australia. So I come from a small family of 10. Got 19 nieces and nephews and 10 great grannies, so keeping Australia alive. So what I'd like to speak about is one of the things that have been instilled when I was growing up in island custom. I'll speak because he spoke about the Aboriginal side. I'll explain about the Torres Strait part, because a lot of people don't know any information about the Torres Strait Island part. The best way to say it is, everybody's seen a coconut tree? Everybody had a, what do you call those things, Malibu or something, like a drink from that, pina colada, that's it. Or things that are, or who's drank coconut water? Anything with coconut in it. So the whole idea is, when we say you have a family tree, well, in the custom for the Torres Strait Islander people, it's a coconut tree for us, because that's what we live off and that's what we've survived off. So if you think of a coconut tree, and then the roots represent my old people, because that's the roots of the foundation. That's when we're growing up. And then we have the rim of a coconut. Just visualize like a coconut tree with the rims going up to the top. That's our journey. So we say that's our journey, everybody's journey when you're going through, when you're growing up. So every rim that goes around, that's a year of your life. And then when you come to the top, you've got the leaves. So when you go to the left, it's mainly our males, and to the right is the women. But when you have a coconut tree, they always have coconuts on it, so they don't discriminate. So when you actually say the leaves of the tree, the leaves are outside leaves, that represents the children. So when you're actually using your journey, so just think of the trees like when they're growing, and then when you have the coconuts, that's our babies that are born. So when the babies are born, the knowledge is shared going through the journey of a coconut. When it grows, then it shoots up, then you see the rings on the coconut tree itself. So when it goes to the top, it flowers coconuts, and then it has the leaves itself. So each journey represents the knowledge that it shares, and where your family and where your kinship comes from. So we use the coconut tree and the leaves, every part of the coconut itself. So when a coconut tree drops a coconut, you drink the coconut milk, you drink the coconut water. We make coconut oil out of it, and then we use the shells, or we call them shells, as utensils. You can use them for cups, dishes, or whatever you want to use them for carrying on your journey as well. Now, when it comes to using the leaves, we use them as for our healing process. So we can use them as bandages, and we do different twines and different weavings that we use. But the key thing that we normally use when you're using a coconut tree is our healing process is we make mats with them first. That's our journey together. So all the family, you sit down, we call it babuk, means like sitting on the floor. So when we do that, everybody's around together, like you were saying, around together, everybody's facing towards each other. So that way there's nobody dominating over the other. And then we sit down, we talk, we taught from when we're small how to weave the mat. Because everybody has to take part in weaving that mat, because that journey is put in for everybody to be woven into that mat. Because if you didn't have people like, coming together, weaving into a mat, that journey, like it'd be someone by themselves, they'll be still doing it. So to make a mat, to be strong, you have to have everybody to working together. So when you're making a mat, that's everybody like to sit down or sleep, we sleep on it. Then you have a process that you can actually use for, like we use it for cooking. So when we're baking, what we call a cup murray, which is like cooked underground. So we make a hole, we do our cooking, our dampers, whatever, underground, and then most of the stuff gets steamed. So when we're cooking, it comes out, we use that for our eating utensils. So we use that, so that process is done for when our cooking. Our healing part, what we use is for the coconut oil. We use it for like, to thicken your hair and that process. And then when you have dry skin, there's other stuff that we put with coconut oil so you don't burn. Like, I mean, the stuff that you have when you go to the beach, people that use coconut oil, that's not real coconut oil. So there's more chemicals in that than you can put a poke stick at. So to me, using the real, like, coming back to traditional medicine and doing stuff makes it easier for you to understand, saying, working with natural, it works, works for the inside of you as well. So when we like if a child is, constipated, we normally, with coconut oil, so that way it heals the inside as well. So nearly that time when they're actually feeling gluggy and they can't go to the toilets, so we actually, just fresh coconut oil, which is the milk that you actually see, you squeeze that, and then you boil it, and then you skip the top, so that way you have the oil of that to make it for the healing for the child. And then the other process that we normally do is when you're cooking, we cook with a lot of coconut oil. So coconut oil is like water. So people might put like, stock, chicken stock in, beef stock, because up in the Torres Strait Islanders, it's very hard to get like, fresh fruit and vegetables coming in. The islands, most of the islands at home, there might be only about, say 5 that actually can grow fruit and veggies on it. All the other stuff has to be come through by boat. Everything comes from Cairns to the Torres Strait, which like takes up to about 3-4 days, just one way for a barge to come up. So just think of the cost of living for people at home when they're actually buying stuff. So when they're the further you go away from shopping centres, it's the cost of living is like anywhere in Australia. The further you go away, rural, remote areas, it's really, really hard as well. The other part, coming back to your coconut, is when we do it, it's using it like it can be classed as a weapon, because the middle part of it, what we call the tuber, it can be actually used as like for making alcohol out of it as well. So that's what we call it. It can be like a weapon. So a lot of people don't realise that part you can actually use to make alcohol. The other part is what we do is when someone's born on an island or from where they come from, what we normally do is when the mother, it's because now in Queensland there's an act that's passed that they have to have babies in Cairns. They cannot have babies on the island anymore. So when they're born, their placenta normally gets buried, and then a coconut tree gets put on top from where they actually come from. So like where I come from in Yam Island, or Ima, I-A-M-A, which is like a turtle island. So when I was born, because I'm the first child, the first grandchild, and the first girl, my placenta got sent back home to be buried on the island where I come from. So it's like when we talk about connected to country. So when we say that ritual now has stopped because the government has stepped in, this was something that we had like when we had the yearning for everybody to wanting to go back home. So this practice has gone back ages ago. So the island that I come from is like a shape of a turtle. When you do an aerial shot, it looks like a shape of a turtle. That's my totem on my seaside. So my totem is like, because we're navigators of the sea, so I'm a seafaring person. So we were taught before, like Captain Cook, the Spanish, the French, the Dutch, the German, whoever comes through. So we were taught by the stars, how we read. So my totem on that part is my father's part is the Seahawk. So that's why I'm sort of got balanced to both to the sea and the land. So when my family, so each of us have different ways of how you're growing up and where you come from as well. So my brothers and sisters that were born down here as the Aboriginal side of it, when we grew up in, say, Purfleet, which is like Taree. If you heard of Taree, I'd grown up in the mission there. So I love the place when I was a kid, and I still love it now. So, I mean, it's what you make the place to be when you're growing up. So how we actually do stuff is when we're working together, and then when we're looking after each other. So I've grown up in a big family and still now getting bigger. So what we do is we try to teach our kids how to, use traditional medicine. So I've grown up where I still today practice traditional medicine with my family, because it's better to do that than, going to the shop and getting Panadol. And sometimes if it's worse, we explain to them they have to actually, go to see a doctor for the right reasons as well. So you have to give that balance. So when we're doing stuff, it's like, all right, we teach them how someone's cut themselves, what we put on it to stop that person from bleeding. If someone's got diarrhea, there's certain fruits that we use, like we call them pluggers. So they eat them, just different ways when we looking after each other. So the journey is that, like, when you're doing stuff is how you travel together. And when you're going to another country, which, like, I mean, is like, if I'm going to, say, out Western Sydney area, getting permission from, like, the other Aboriginal people that could be out there, which is like, say, an example, Campbelltown, which is like Thurl country. So I have to get permission, to go and, talk to people there if I want to, engage with them. Pardon me. If I want to go anywhere in Australia, you have to understand that you can't just rock up in places, and you have to understand that you have to be invited to these places as well. So myself being like an Aboriginal person as well, I have to get invited to these places, so I just can't turn up to places. And when you're working together, you have to understand they have protocols, and I have to abide by their law and their protocols as well. So the other thing is to understand when you're, like, working and you want to understand something, don't be frightened to ask, because it's always there. If you want to work together, that's the whole idea. I come on board here to Gunawira because working with the Mums and Bubs program, so we can actually work together as like a family and work together and make it unique. And so we can work together, get more doctors, clinicians, people to come through to understand, and have more Aboriginal people in the area that we can work together and saying, this is what we want, this is how we want to do it, and to move forward, that we can actually do things together in harmony, and how we're going to be doing it for the future, how we're going to, like with COVID now, it's the hard part, but we're now, pushing forward to go forward for everybody, so we're not, stuck at home as well. So the other thing is just be yourself when you're doing things. That's what I've always been taught. It's like, don't try to be something you're not. And like we always say, patience, understanding, and having an understanding of what's actually happening in the world, and be aligned with it, because to me, it's like you work with what's out there because it will help you in the alignment as well. So when we're doing things together, I was taught, respect the land and the land will respect you. If you don't respect the land, it'll come back and bite you. And when we're doing things, it's like understanding when you go country, find out what Eve was saying before. Find out when you're going to different places around Australia, what country you're on, and what animals are there, what their totems are, who the people are in those areas as well, because it makes your area and your journey much easier, because that's what I find. I like to find out who's there, so when I actually go on places and take family or my family and friends, it's easier to do it that way, where you work with people that are there because we're in the same country and we like to keep it that way as well. So to me, it's like the journey is for everybody to take part together and learning as we go, because as I say, I'm not an expert in this, but I'm happy to learn as I'm going. You work together and we work as a family when we're doing things. So you slowly when you're doing your journey, because you don't expect to be in that place, but you realise later on that your journey was meant to be there in those places as well. So when you're going along, it's slowly. Yeah. So to me, as we go, I mean, it doesn't matter where you live in Australia. I find that what we're doing is how we're going to move along and do our journeys as well. So see what happens, and then see what our future goes, and then where we can go from on that journey as well. So the more that people interact, the much better it is, when we're doing stuff. And then how does, like, for healing for us as well, for culture, when we're doing stuff, it's like our healing for our culture is like, when we do things, we go on country. And what I mean by when we go on country is we'll do women's business where we go to a place where we might, have women together. We might, like what I normally do is, my culture is what I do is with young mums or like my nieces and nephews when they're in a bad situation, I will tell them, come on, we'll do a cooking session together. So we do a healing, we'll go on country, we'll go, get some yams and stuff like that. So I teach them how to make what we call sop, which is one of our traditional meals that we have. It's like a vegetable dish, but I don't tell them those vegetables. So it's just like, when we go together, we're healing outside, not inside. So we go out together. And it's just, getting that kinship, taking them away from the screens, the TV, just making them feel comfortable. And it's like, if I have other friends that come around that don't know how to work with us together, it's like how we work together is like, I explain, if someone's in a, like a real bad day at work, like mental health or something, just to put an example, is how do you actually work together saying, all right, let's do things together, because we don't class that as mental health. We just say this person's, like they're not in a good space. So we just take them on country, whether it's to meet animals, or I'll take them through, like, we might go through rainforest paths and just journeys, like we just go out in the fresh air. And we go through, explain about trees. This is a good healing process because when you actually connect with, going outside, or you're going to be gardening. So when you get our kids to do like gardening, the other part is getting kids to, make things, bury things like, all right, they don't know how to they've never seen where tomatoes come from. They don't know where certain things come from. So when they don't have this, it's like, to explain about country, it's like, country I'm referring to is a place, say like a suburb. So in Sydney itself, when we say country, Redfern should be plus the country. Or I can say, like where Graham comes from, his country is, but like further out, say like going out to Dubbo and all those places, like we call them as country. Countries are like suburbs. If you look up the Tyndall map, like Google that, that'll give you like a map that'll show you all the different countries that are on it. So there was a guy that did it, was Norman Tyndall that did that. So our country is a place that we say it's like it's a town or a suburb. So we refer that, there's no boundaries, but there's certain boundaries we have like imaginary boundaries like rivers, mountains. So we don't have lines that say a big picket fence that says that's your boundary. We have like imaginary boundaries. So that's how we've grown up. So when we go to someone else's country, to get permission, if we wanted plants from that side over there to do our healing process, we have to get permission from that person, so that side of the river or creek or mountain, because we've got to get that way over there to have for everybody to understand. You have to get permission to go to different places. About my totem, the turtle's like a navigator of the sea. So when we grow up, like where I've grown up, so we're a seafaring person. So one, I can't eat a turtle because that's our totem. So we say that's your family member. So if you hear someone, an Aboriginal or a Torres Strait Islander person saying this is their totem, so on my sea culture, it's like the turtle. So family, it's like when people say they go to Woolies or Coles or Aldi's to go and get meat, it's the same process. We can't eat a turtle. So that's my brother or my sister. On the land for healing, my totem is the hibiscus. So we use a hibiscus, like for healing for women's business and like when you make tea. So we use that for the different parts of the body of the women as well. So when we use that to bring culture in, we teach them that way, where we have a cup of tea and it's different processes that we can actually go through and understanding. So these are our healing ways. So we use traditional medicine for on our journeys when we're traveling, so when we're healing, or if you're trying to understand for other people to come through and say, how can we do this and where do we go from here on that journey? So it's a small learning process. So the more you ask, the better you'll understand. And I mean, that's what things are there to ask. I mean, if you don't ask, you'll never learn. So there, thank you.
Thank you. Just stay there for a sec. Hey, could you just to us, share what do you think? How does your culture provide the healing to you? Or what things do you practice, or how do you get around?
Yeah. So for me, I wake up in the morning and I have this urgency to be outside in nature. And so because I live in the city, but I also live at the beach, I'm lucky that I can just go down and almost have permission to have my shoes off by being on the beach. So for me, really, the sun is within that, like, my number one, that connects me to source, and that, there's a lot to be said about the sunscreen that we put on our skin now, and all those chemicals, and the natural sunscreen that we have from coconut oil, or even from, oil mixed in with ochre that you put on your skin that would protect you from the sun. And we've kind of just lost that gauge when it's like, oh, it's too much in the sun, because we're not used to it. We don't live outside anymore. So for me, I get my healing from the sun, from the ocean, from my feet just barefoot on the earth. So when we look at like Aboriginal culture, Indigenous culture, we're looking at something that's like, when we look at the universe, we're looking at something very complex, but through a simplistic lens. And then when we look at our modern day way of being, we're looking at the world like it's simplistic, but through a very complicated lens. So really coming back to the simplicity, for me, it's always just coming back to the breath, coming back to my family. I have 3 kids, and they're all different ages, but they always bring me back to, like, the present. They're always bringing me back to what's happening right now, like they're hungry or they're thirsty, or they're bored, or whatever that is. It's just coming back to that simplicity of all of our, I guess, our ancient cultures of where we've all come from. If you look back to the simplicity of what's really important in your day, for me, it's definitely getting out into nature, and I feel like a lot of healing can happen that way. And when we talk about connecting to country and going back to country, going back to that place that your ancestors are from, is really important for Aboriginal people. Like it's something that you'll hear when you are connected with other Indigenous people. They're always going off back to country to get that connection and get that sort of download of their ancestors, and that remembering of where we've come from, and that will help us to be able to sort of move forward to where we're going. What just came to me actually was, I don't know if you've read Sand Talk by Tyson Yunkampora, his name is. Beautiful book, really philosophical. I also love Dark Emu, and the kids' book is a good one to have as well. That's also, full of so much lost foods that we've lost touch with, what naturally grows here. But what Tyson talks about in his book is the hand, and he talks about how the most important relationship that we have is with the child and the mother. And so on the hand, that represents the little finger, and the ring finger is like the mother and the child. And then he talks about the thumb being like the like the rainbow serpent, like the creator, like God, whatever that might be for you, and how that connection that it has with all the fingers. So you've got the little finger is the baby, the ring finger is the mother, and then you've got the middle finger, which is the father. And all of these have that connection with this rainbow serpent. But then with the father, he's protecting always, is his thing is to protect the mother and the child, because they're the center of the whole universe. And then the pointer finger is that relationship that the father has with his community, and how he might teach, like his nephew how to make a weapon, and that connection that he has with that wider community. And then, but that connection that we all have, I guess, with the earth, in a sense, where we talk about the rainbow serpent, creating the earth and being from the earth. I can't read those questions that are there because I'm short-sighted.
Thank you.
Oh, pleasure. So that's a really beautiful way of looking at it when we use the hand. And he talks about lots of the symbols and really the simplicity in those symbols. And yeah, you have to read it a couple of times, so it'll take a long time to read that book, because it's quite in depth but quite profound. Another book that I've learned a bit from, which I brought, is Voices of the First Day. This one sort of connects a lot of other ancient cultures together, and talks a lot about the cosmos and the star systems and all of the rituals of, and just on a more of a universal level, it speaks to. So a few little resources there. Did I answer the question? Too much?
Yeah,
Too much. Went above and beyond there.
Yeah, and just so you all know that we will answer the questions eventually via the emails or through Katrina. So yeah, and look, we aim to have another one of these in a month's time, and we might have a part of that 2 hours webinar as a question and answer time. Okay, because I'm sure that you've all got many questions that you'd like to ask. So with that, let's have a little 5 or 10 minute break and grab a cup of tea or something, and we'll come back and we'll continue. Thank you. How you going, bro? Good,